I'm Caitlin Scutari, and I'm so happy that you're joining me today with this Pinch Pot mug class. And this is my first video with instructing art, so we'll see how it goes, and I'm hoping for the best. You should also receive visuals in PDF form and also some supplies, which would be clay and hopefully an underglaze. And then the rest of the stuff you should be able to get at home. So that's why I'm here in my kitchen instead of in my studio, because I'm gonna only be using materials that you can find in your house. And it may, if you have pottery materials, feel free to use it. And I'll mention what materials you could be using if you have the right supplies. So, first of all, I just want to give a little history about myself. I went to school for art education, and I taught some elementary art for approximately 3 years. At UMass Amherst, I studied ceramics, and then I went to Mahar as well. And I took pottery there with Miss Ganson. But so at UMass Amherst, I really enjoyed the ceramic courses there, throwing and hand building, and I mostly throw, although I also work with slab building. And I sell my pieces on Etsy and also in Pinch in Northampton and also Green Karma Farm. And I'm going to be instructing some courses at the Launch Space in the OIC in Orange, Mass. And I hope to be doing a lot of different types of lessons. With COVID, it's a little different. We're going to be pushing back the in-person learning for now and try to move forward with these take-home kits so everyone can still create at home and feel connected with each other in that way. Maybe we can form a group and then share pictures. That would be great. Anyways, all right, so how do we get set up? How are we going to do this? We need to get a workspace that's clean, a table. Okay, you don't want to do it on your rug. Ideally, you would at least have a little paper towel. This is not going to be very messy. Okay, so you'll get a little paper towel. I'm going to show you my workspace now. Okay, this is my workspace, and I have sheetrock, because I have a bunch of sheetrock for drying clay. It's very good for flattening out slab pieces. I have my sheetrock. I have a bowl of water. Okay, you're gonna want that just to be solving any cracking problems that might occur as you're pinching. Also, you'll want a tool like this, but you can use a, let me see if I can get that in there. You can use a toothbrush or a fork. Also, you'll want a spoon. I used like a heavier duty plastic spoon, but you can use any kind of spoon. For tomorrow, after you make your pots, you'll be wanting paintbrushes, like little ones or big ones, it's up to you. And I use also pencils. And hopefully you should be getting a little underglaze. I'm not sure how those are going to be coming in the kits yet. So these are going to be the end products. You're going to make 2 mugs. I put different handles on these mugs because I wanted to show that there are multiple options for handles. People are getting so creative with handles right now that you can really think outside the box and create your own type of handle. So this is a classic mug handle, and then this one's a little more contemporary. Also, I've seen people roll out shapes and doing attaching like a circle or a half moon and have a solid handle here. So I would suggest taking a look at some inspiration and seeing what kind of handles you want to try to make. You're also going to have this large ball, 3 pounds of clay. This is going to make 2 mugs, okay? the way that you're going to take it apart and separate it is you're going to grab and twist. Okay. So our goals for today is to make a set of mugs about the same size and as smooth as possible with the tools that we have at our house. All right. This clay right now is leather hard. I just made them last night. I could still easily carve into it and make indents if I wanted. And this is with a pencil. All right, so that's leather hard when it's still easily carved. Okay. At this stage, you'll be able to decorate with the underglaze. You could paint and carve. We'll go over a bunch of different options. Once it gets really dry, it becomes bone dry when it's a little lighter in color. Okay, so this mug here is basically leather hard, but because this is so thin and by itself in the air, it dried quickly, and so it's a little lighter and it's becoming bone dry. Okay, so I'm gonna begin. Okay, so our first step is we need to separate this 3-pound ball of clay. And all I do is try to go as central as possible and twist. All right, kind of equal. I felt like this one was getting bigger, so I left a chunk on this side. Okay, now I'm going to take off a little bit, I don't know. I grab from this much here and do a twist for handle. Okay, so maybe I'll do the same with this. Grab about that much and twist it off. So now I have handle clay. These are going to be set aside for handle. I would smush them together and keep them in ball form because they'll stay more moist during that waiting period till you're ready to do the handle. Okay, and same with these pieces. You want to smack them together. Keep turning it, smacking it until it becomes a ball. And the reason you want to smack it is because you want to make sure there's no air inside. By smacking it, you're going to be compressing the clay so that there's no air bubbles and surprises once you get in there. So this is one ball. Okay, and then we'll take the other. And you want to try not to end up folding. You want to like flatten parts out and smush them in, if that makes sense. Any folding is going to create like air pockets. Normally, if you're in a pottery studio, you would wedge your clay, which is like kneading dough, pretty much the same thing, where you push and you fold over, push and fold over. But if you don't have the right setup, it's really hard to do because it will get stuck to your table and all that stuff. All right, so we have 2 balls. This one feels a little bigger, so I'm gonna just take off a little because it's gonna bother me if they're a little off like that. All right, that's pretty equal. All right, now you're gonna choose one, and your first step is you're going to put your thumb inside the ball of clay like this, and you're going to take your hand and feel where your thumb is in the clay because you don't want to go too far deep. And then you're going to start pinching around in a circle. Okay. One thing you want to think about when you're doing your pinch pots is the thickness. you want to try to keep your pot about as thick as your pinky, okay, all the way around. If there's a spot that's too thin, it's going to dry a lot quicker than the rest. If it's too thick, it could end up blowing up in the kiln. And when we receive your pots back after you've created them, we are going to be checking to see how thick they are to make sure they're safe enough for the kiln. Because if it does explode, it will blow up everybody else's pieces too. So we really want to make sure they're not too thick, but that they're not too thin too as well. So basically right now I'm working in a circle. I am just getting the bottom and the bottom edges about as thick as I want. And I'm spinning the clay. So pinch and spin, pinch and spin. Okay. This is very thick on the top, but this is about as thin as I want on the bottom, and I can feel it with my fingers. Now we want to try to keep it as round as possible. Also, you don't want it to end up doing this. So every once in a while, if you feel like your pot is going this way, you can take it and gently squeeze the top together to make it a more circle again. Okay, so I'm going to continue making my way up. As I'm doing this, if I'm seeing any cracking of any sort or creasing, I'm going to take my thumb and smooth it over. And at this point, you really don't need any water unless there's like a big size crack. And then we want to add some water to help smooth that out. And there's a little crack here. So I'm just going to take my finger and smush it over. Anything that's left like that is probably going to get worse. So you want to just make sure to get it ahead of time. Okay, and I'm going to smooth out these bumps as well. As anything I see along my turning travels, I'm going to fix. Okay, I'm going to make my way up the mug, pinching along the way. If your hand gets tired, you can attempt to do the other hand. I'm a little bit not good at pinching with my left hand, but some people can do it. Also, a good shake of the hand does wonders. You need to shake it off. All right, I feel like my mug is becoming a little outward, so I'm going to just remind it to go back to being a circle. So I'm going to grab it around the top and push it in. Okay, now I'm going to use my good hand again. Again, there's some cracks there. Maybe I'll speed up this part of the video when I edit it. Okay, so I'm not as tall as I want to be right now, and it feels heavy, but I am going to attempt to flatten the bottom. So if you've noticed at this point, I have not. If you're pinching your pot while it's on a flat surface, it tends to go wider. So I'm trying to keep it round by keeping it in my hand. Also, you can only go so tall with these because you want to be able to touch the bottom and pinch on all the way up too. If you're making something really large with pinch pots, what you do is you make two pieces and then stick them together. Like if you were to do a big vase, you'd make two and then put them together and then open up the top. Okay, so the way I'm going to flatten the bottom is I'm going to just tap. Okay, and then I'm going to take my hand and push down in the bottom. Just because I like, on my mugs, I like to have a flat bottom. And I want to equal it out. So I'm going to blend that bottom a little bit with my fingers. Also, you need short nails to work with clay because your nails are going to be jabbing into everything. Okay. All right, I'm going to tap again. So now I have this flat bottom. Okay, I like that. I'm going to continue bringing up the sides a little bit. I think it's a little too thick for my liking, so I'm going to keep doing that. Feels pretty equal so far all the way around. And then remember, if you feel like it's too wide, you can squish it a little at a time. There shouldn't be any folding happening, and if there is, you want to smooth that out with your finger right away. Okay, basically pinching all the way up. All right, now I'm going to take my finger and my water and just go along the top a little bit because I do see some cracking along this top. Maybe in the inside as well. Anywhere you see something that's not quite smooth or consistent, you can smooth it out with your finger and water. Easy. You don't even need any sponge at this point. Okay. I'm pushing back in here because I'm noticing I don't like my bottom still. So just keep playing around with it. I mean, you can move clay so much. So make it what you want. Okay. Now, I feel like this mug is pretty done. Okay. Let's see, compared to the other ones. It's about the same size also. Now I'm going to take my spoon tool that you can get in any kitchen and go along the edge and go up, and I'm supporting the inside of my mug with my hand so that it doesn't go all the way in. Oh, this is a nice time for a paper towel if you wanted, because then you can spin it pretty easily. I mean, I'm not having trouble on my surface of this, but if you're working on a regular table, put your paper towel down and then you can spin it easily. You see how easy it's spinning now? Just perfect. So I'm just smoothing out any thumbprints, really, is what this is. So it looks less handmade, I guess. Our goal is to really make this as smooth as possible. It's a little bit hard with not all the tools for pottery, but it's gonna come out great anyways. Another tool that we can use is a little, it's like a little handheld cheese grater. Okay, that could work with smoothing out the edges after it's leather hard, but at this point you don't do that. That would be more at this stage. Okay. All right, so I did around the outside. It's a lot more smooth than it was before. And now I'm going to do the inside as well, supporting the exterior of the mug with my other hand. I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up, from the bottom and work my way up. I'm going to be able to see the refrigerator. Okay, I'm just smoothing out the rest of this with my hand after I went around the whole interior. Use a little more water on this top part. Remember, if you're making a mug, which we are, you're going to be putting your mouth on the edge of this, and you're going to want it to be smooth. Okay? No one likes a rough surface to drink on. Not usually, at least. Every single thing that you see is going to show up when this is complete. So sometimes it's hard to process that, but any little mark, you're going to see it. What we're going to do with this pot is you're going to have the underglaze, and then, which is a glaze you can put on before it's fired. So a regular glaze is, I would take these after they're bone dry, put them in the kiln, take them out of the kiln, then cover it with a glaze, and then put it back in the kiln and fire it again, and then it's done. With these, with this, and if you use an underglaze, you can put it on while it's still leather dry, or even bone dry if you wanted. Leather hard. So you can work with it a little bit more. All right, I think that's good. Another step further is that you may want the top of your mug to be super even. That type of stuff doesn't bother me, but I know it does for some people. So a trick that you might be able to do is you're gonna look at your mug. I don't know if you can see this very well. Okay. You'll look at your mug and see where the lowest point is. So maybe like over here. Then you're gonna take your a pin tool or a knife. Okay, and then you're gonna put it at that spot. Then you're gonna take it and, this can't be in the way. You're gonna draw around it. Let me just fold this out of the way. Oop. So that it spins easy and it doesn't bother my spoon. Okay. All right, so I'm doing this. I'm taking my pin tool and my spoon to like hold it steady at the same level. And I'm just gonna take this and spin it around. I'm hoping you can tell what I'm doing. This is gonna create an even top. Okay, so now that I made a mark, I'm going to go around and actually cut it, following that line I just drew. Oops, went a little low there. Okay, so you can see that I accidentally cut too low. So I'm gonna just take my finger and like push that back into place and make it smoothed out again. All right, so now I'm just taking my fingers and going along the edge of this, squeezing. So I also don't like drinking off of super rectangular edges. You may like that. So if you want that, you can just keep it rectangular, but I like to round out my edges. This is all a matter of preference and whatever you want your style to be like as a potter. Okay, so I'm just going around doing that, and I'm going to take my water because I definitely have some cracks happening. Okay, so this feels pretty good. The thickness is a little like not equal. If that's gonna bother you, just go around and try to equal it out with your fingers. Any little chips that maybe fell in, you want to try to get those out or smooth them into it so you don't have little chips in your mug. Okay, so this is what this looks like as it's been cut. It's pretty equal. I mean, compared to these ones, which I did not do that with, okay? I did not go around the edge with this. I just was like, I like it like this. So, but I wanted to show that you can level it out. It's pretty level for the way that we did it. All right, for working at home, right? Now, I'm gonna add a handle. Really, this is too much clay for handles, but at least you have some things to work with here. All right, I'm gonna roll it out on my space, and you wanna just think of it as Play-Doh. If you see any cracking, you wanna put a little bit of water on it. As soon as you bend this, those cracks are going to get bigger. All right, so again, you want it about the size of your pinky, but I would say like a fat pinky for a handle of a mug like this size, okay? And honestly, even after saying that, your handles can be whatever you want. However, we don't want them to be too thick that they blow up in the kiln, so nothing ever over a 1/2 inch in thickness. All right, so now obviously, oh goodness, it's hard to show. Okay. Obviously this is a little too big. It's like as wide as this mug. So I have my coil though. And you know what, actually, what I could do is cut it, right? I could cut it here and here and make it shorter, easy, okay? Then it will look like this. The way that I got this mug though, is I did that and I attached it, and then you set it upside down and hang it over an edge. Let me try to get it in the video. Yeah, so hang it over the edge of whatever you're working with, and then you can shape this handle so that it hangs down this way, so when you lift it up this way, it's more upwards. Does that make sense? So you have it this way and it hangs a little bit low. Pull it down, shape it the way you think you want it, and then it will look like nice and positive. Okay. So, but with this one, I kind of want to do something like a little curlier. So I'm going to design my handle here, and I'm going to just curve this around and have it touch. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, and then I'm going to have this one curve around this way as a little cute little French handle. Okay, so I'm also at this point taking my finger and smoothing those cracks. All right, I have this style. And I'm going to find a spot on my mug to attach. All right, so I think I'm gonna put it, you know what I usually do? This is how I put my handles on, because I don't want it to get squished on this flat surface, so I stick it in my lap. And I think you can see it still. All right, so I have it in my lap. It's nice and safe because I have nice and squishy legs. And then I'm gonna put this on here and see where I like it to line up. All right, so I'll show you. I'm just gonna do, I think like right there is good. And then I'm gonna take like a pencil, a pencil. Usually you don't have to show a camera what you're doing, but okay. I'm gonna take a pencil and just kind of mark where the top is gonna go and where the bottom's gonna go. Okay, now I can take this off and I have those marks. And then I'm going to make more marks. And this is where you're going to use your toothbrush or a fork or anything that's gonna scratch into this like that. That's what you want it to look like. And if you notice, while I'm holding this like this, it's spreading out and not holding form. So I'm just gonna remind it to be a circle again. It's just that the clay is pretty wet. You really shouldn't be holding it like that. But, all right, so then I'm gonna take this side and do the same thing on the handle where it's going to touch. Scratch it up with the markers. And we are not providing a slip. So when you're attaching clay body to another clay body and they're both the same amount of moisture, so these ones are because I just took them out of the bag, you still want to use a slip and score technique to attach one to the other. So scoring is when you scratch like this, and then the slip is wet clay. So I might take this wet clay, let me get focused, that's stuck on this thing, and I'm going to dip it in my water, and then I'm going to push it onto this spot. And you know, if you wiggle things around a little bit, they're going to turn into mud. This really what you want is like a slippery mud, okay? And that's pretty much what slip is. It's just like wet clay. It's extra wet clay. All right, so now when you're attaching the handle to the mug, you want to like firmly press, okay? And you don't want to warp your handle that you just did, but you need it to stay on, okay? So you're going to firmly press and support the inside. So notice my hand is inside, and you're gonna support the inside as you're pressing from the outside. And again on the top. Also, once it's on, you're going to see that it's messy around the edge here, okay? And you can take your spoon or your finger and just like move it around so that it's smooth again. And sometimes fingers are the best tools, okay? Take a little water, cover up any cracks that you saw, okay? I noticed some cracks, I think indents happened on the base of my mug since I had been moving it around a bit. So I'm fixing that up. Okay. You can also, you can warp things here at this point too. So like I didn't like how wide this bottom piece was. So I'm squishing it with my finger right now and just kind of making it a different shape. Okay, so I changed it to like come out like that a little bit. And you can really also add decoration to these handles later too. When they're a little bit harder, you can carve into them. That way they don't have to be smooth. Okay. Make sure that if you see any cracks along where the handle's attached, that you push either more wet clay into or just like shove this on more, because if this doesn't attach well, it's pretty impossible to attach it if it falls off. So you really want to make sure it's on there securely. All right, so I think that's pretty good for this. with my handle on. Now what you're gonna do, and actually, you know what? I really, really, really like it when the handles are facing, if that makes sense, that they're like facing upward. So I'm gonna hang this over the edge here, and I'm going to push this upwards so that the gravity is pushing the shape down, but when I flip the mug over, it's gonna be facing up. So I might let it dry upside down like this, because it's gonna be like so much nicer. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. At this point, you could take a pencil and you can write your name on the bottom. Initials, name, however you want to sign it. And that's just like carving into the bottom. All right, so pretend you went to sleep. The next morning, you're gonna come and look at your pots. These pots are becoming a little closer to bone dry at this point because I've been doing this video and I had it overnight. So it's a little bit not ideal, but I'm still gonna do it anyways. So you're gonna take your slip and, let's see, and a paintbrush, and you're gonna, there's multiple ways you can do designing on mugs. So obviously the traditional, you can paint exactly what you want. So paint like stripes across the top. Okay. You could do polka dots. Anytime I'm feeling like I don't know what I want to do, I just do a basic pattern or repeat a shape over and over again. And it ends up, I really like it. But you can do like stars and moons. Okay, so I'm doing a stripe. Another thing is you can do, if you wanted to take a block of space, and paint it solid. After it dries, we can carve out a picture. Okay. Okay, so also with underglaze, you still want to do multiple coats. So while that square is drying, I'm going to go back over this line and do another coat. Okay. And I'm going to do another coat over this black square or rectangle. Okay, I'm also going to do, these are thicker dots, so I probably don't need to do 2 coats, but I just wanted to do a little dots. And honestly, I have no plan for this mug. I'm just showing different techniques that you can do on yours. Okay. You could do dots on the whole mug. You could draw, you could do an actual painting of something. Okay. I know people have been really liking eyes lately, so maybe we could draw a picture of an eye. Maybe some more dots on this side, actually. Then it could turn into something here. then maybe I'll do a rectangle on this side too. Then we have a symmetrical-ish mug. And remember, we'll want to do at least 2 layers, ideally 3, to get it really solid. But if you're doing dots, they're likely thicker already. So I'm just going to trace over my eye. I'm going to do one more eyelash over here. Okay, and another layer on this rectangle. Now, if you end up using a pencil to carve out a photo, you don't have to worry about actual lead being a problem or showing up, because that stuff gets burned off in the kiln. All right, I think I need to do something with this handle. Not really sure what, but I think maybe doing stripes might make me happy. All right, I added stripes. So this mug has a good amount of stuff going on here in the round. Ooh, guess what? If you wanted to do a little picture in the middle, you could do that too. So what should we do? Maybe a sun. Actually, I'm going to do a moon. Sorry, I changed my mind. This will be a nice little picture at the bottom of your mug. You don't see that too often. You could write words in it if you have a super steady hand. Okay. My moon's not amazing, but that's okay. Go. All right, so now I just wanted to show you the technique for taking off this glaze since it's all dry. Alrighty, what to do? I'm gonna do a drop, a raindrop. All right, so I'm gonna take my pencil, which is a dull pencil, and I'm just carving it out. All right, so you can see that there's flakes on it, so just gently push those off. If you're smudging too much, it's going to show up later. I'm just going to go and clean it up a bit. This is for a rainy day mug. Do another drop on this side. Okay. All right, let's see. I'm gonna take a little bit more details for this thing. I'm gonna take off some of this glaze by drawing little lines through her eyelashes. Maybe I'll do some lines like this also. All right, so if you get, because I'm a messy person, I've gotten some glaze in the wrong spot, and I'm gonna just take some water and just like take it off. You can use your paper towel if you wanted, because I don't want any glaze inside her eye, besides her eyeball. It's obviously a girl. Also, with underglaze, you do need to do multiple coats so it shows up. So I'm not too worried if it's really light. It might not even show up. It might burn off in the kiln. All right, so I'm just taking my paper towel and smoothing out the bottom of these eyelashes that I drew. Okay. And any other things that you see that are flaky, you just want to pop those off. Because again, anything sharp is going to be sharp later. So I think that we are just handing out black underglaze for this project. If you felt so inclined to get your own underglaze, just make sure it's an underglaze for Cone 6 clay, and you can use any colors you want. Okay, and also after your first mug is made, you obviously need to make your second mug. So don't forget about your second mug, because they should be partners. Okay, I mean, and partners can look different, obviously. So whatever they end up being. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Never done it before. And please email or text or Facebook me if you have any questions or if you're stuck on anything. I'm totally available to help you. I'll move this up. There we go. And I really hope you join for another class. I want to do pinch pot vases. I also want to do jewelry trays and a teapot and some other pinch pot activities. So, I mean, mugs are great, but maybe people don't always want more mugs in their house. So tune in for more lessons, and thanks for joining.